Right, welcome back to the channel. After taking a one video break from the actual Triumph build, back on it, gives me a little bit of time just to do some research, just to read up, so I can follow through onto the next step. I take each step as it comes, do some research, read up, see how it goes together, work out in my own mind what parts I need, what parts have I got the right parts laid out, and then I can move on and do one step at a time. So today we're going to concentrate on the primary. I've laid everything out on the bench, so I'll show you in a second. But literally everything here is ready to go. So we'll start working through the parts. There is a certain order that you've got to put them in. So that's going to be the first job. So let me show you the parts that I've got, we're going to install today. So this is the primary section. So we've actually got the sprocket, front sprocket will fit on this bit. So there's our front sprocket, which will slide over. Has a nut and a retaining washer. I've also dug out the actual spanner for it. So we've got the front sprocket on the primary. As you can see, it's a double. Goes with the double chain, or duplex chain I should call it. So that's going to fit on this one. Then in front of that we're going to have the actual rotor and the alternator. So we've actually got these bolts to go in. So a small one will fit there, and the two larger ones, one there, one up in there. We've also got, I've got a new gasket and the case that fits over the front of the sprocket, so the sprocket will be tucked behind this casing. Got some gasket sealant as well, just to smear around. All the screws ready. Clutch nut, washer, and a retaining washer, which will fit in there. Obviously I'll take the plates out, then we can put the plates in. I've backed off the adjuster screw for the clutch. Again, everything's in position, and obviously got a special tool, because obviously once you start to go over these pins, that will just sit over the top, so I can screw them down, but I can start them off with a screwdriver until we get flush. That will be the bolt goes in and holds the rotor. Obviously not forgetting an assembly lube, and obviously some Loctite. Put a little bit on these. I've moved some of the other bits just out of the way just for now, so I've got a clearish bench. So the bench is getting really clear. I think the next stage, probably after all this is installed, will actually be to get this engine back in its frame. It's actually quite a heavy engine, I'm surprised. Now it's all together. Obviously I've still got the primary to go on. So I'm going to get the primary in, and then probably next episode I'll actually try and get this in. Because obviously I can't, like I said in an earlier episode, I can't put the actual rockers on because there won't be enough clearance because of the way the frame is designed. But I'll show you that in the next episode when I come to install it. I probably won't be able to show you trying to get the engine in because it is just me on my own. But it should be fun, and it should be nice to actually see it back in a frame. So that's the job for today, so let's crack on. We'll start off with the sprocket, then move on to the plate. Obviously we've got the clutch rod which will fit through. We'll lube that up first. So plenty to be getting on with. Alright, so like I say, first job is actually get the sprocket in place. Again, as you can see, it's got the serrations that will actually fit over, and the end of it is actually threaded. So as you can see, the threads there, so that needs to fit over. Obviously it's got a ridge on the back which will slide inside. Right, so that's now in place. I can actually do a majority of that by hand, and then I'll put a spanner on the, if you can see around there, on that nut at the back which joins up, and I can tighten that down and then flatten the actual retaining washer. Right, so let me get that tightened up and then we'll flatten the washer down, then we can move on to the next step. So that's the retaining washer in position, tightened up. So next job is we'll actually get these studs in place, a little bit of Loctite. So the short one goes in here, you've got one here and one here. I've also backed off the actual tensioner, because obviously when it all goes in together you're literally sliding the front cog and the actual clutch basket and chain over in one movement. So the other thing we'll have to do, actual wood rough key which will fit in there. So let's get these studs in first. Just get a spanner, tighten them up, and then next job we'll get this casing on with some gasket sealant. Next job, a little bit of gasket sealant rounds, then we can install our gasket and the plate. The oil seal is already in. As you notice, it goes in backwards, so when that goes over, that fits in nicely and seals. So on with our gasket. So get all the holes lined up. Now we can install the small screws. Next we can move on to the actual main primary sprocket with the woodruff key, our chain and our clutch basket. So let me take the plates out and then we'll put this chain round the two, slide on together. I've just got the woodruff key to fit first. As you can see, it goes in that slot and then we can get the actual primary drive on. Right, so next is to get these in exactly the right place. You can see there's a cutout at the top. That actually coincides with that key there. So if I keep that cut out facing upwards at 12 o'clock, right, so now I can take that as a complete unit and hopefully it will fit onto both of these at the same time. May take a bit of jiggling, but let's see how we go. So trying to keep the clutch at 12 o'clock. And then try and wiggle it into position. Right, and there it is on. That took a bit of jiggling both ends. So I've now put the washer in. I've just got the nut to go in. I'm going to double check, but it should be this facing inwards, and then we can pull the tabs up. Then we can move on to the alternator. Right, so that seems to have started to go in nicely. Check the torque setting on that, it's 50 foot-pounds. So I just need to put a little block just to stop that moving forward. We've got our lock plate in there, then I can get that tightened up. Right, so that's now torqued, taken out the block already, so that's all nicely in position. I just need to remove the lock plate. So I've put the adjuster bolt in, it's just loose at the moment. All that's left to do is actually pull up the tabs. Get them fixed in position. Then we can actually start putting the clutch plates in. They're in the right order from reverse, so the back one, I've checked in the fiche pictures in the manual, the back one is a friction and the front one will be a steel. Then we can get the plate in place and get that tightened up using that tool. Right, so the tabs are up. Next one to do is clutch push rod. That will drop all the way through, unfortunately, because of the angle of the engine, which is fine. I did use some assembly lube, just give it a bit of a oil up. So next, I'm going to put the plates in. Right, now for a clutch plate, a spring, a thread and a little bucket. You'll see a notch, so that can line up, fits flush. Right, that's actually caught. Right, so that's that job done. So next we now need the actual rotor. So I just need that back to the top where our woodruff key is. So that's clutch all installed. Get the rotor on, get the alternator on, and that should just about do it for today's episode. Alright, so this should be the complete unit. We should have the rotor inside. Yep. Right, so that is the bit we need. Again, you've got the cutout, which will be the woodruff key. It slots in nicely. And then last will be the nut, or the bolt, sorry, and the washer. So just got to put that in there and tighten it up, and then we can actually slide alternator generator over these prongs, and then that will be it for today. Right, so that's the nut tightened down, torqued. Just got to bend up the actual retainer. Right, so for the alternator, wires actually go through this hole here. That is the bit that screws in to there. So start getting that through. Which is actually not as easy as it looks. Right, obviously to start with it's going to be a bit difficult to get this over because obviously the magnets. But we'll have a wiggle, see how we go. Yes, you can just see the wires from underneath. Right, and that is now in position. All I've got to do is just get this lead just in a little bit further, just tighten that tube up. That is back as far as it will go, and everything's still turning nicely. So you can see the nut back there. So that's as far back as it will go. So it is just a case of lubricating this a little bit. And the leads are actually underneath. So that will do it for this episode. I appreciate everybody that's supported, commented, liked. It means a lot. This is it's a special build, and it's such a way out of my comfort zone, as I said, but I'm just taking each step as it comes and dealing with it as I go, learning all the time, which is what this channel has always been about. It's trying, having a go, learning. But this has been a great adventure so far. Pleased that we've got to this stage. As I say, the last things I've got to do off camera will just be feed this wire through, then I can put the cap over the top, just tighten this tube up. But that is basically almost it for what I can do on the bench. Next episode, we're going to get this back in the frame, so I'll pull the frame up, take off as much as I can. Whether I'll be able to film putting the engine in, because it's just me, so it'll be quite difficult, but hopefully by the time you join me next time, the bike will be up on the lift and I should have the engine basically in position, and then we can continue on from there. As usual, any comments in the comments box below. Appreciate all your feedback, all your comments. It does mean a lot. I say it's so often, growing channel, I really appreciate the feedback, good, bad or indifferent. It helps me grow, it helps me learn. There are links to my Facebook page also in the description. Pop across there, say hello, show me what your bikes you've got, show me what you're working on. Always interested to see new projects. There's more and more people actually following on the Facebook page. I think last count well over 610, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. It is important. Without you people out there, I'd just be tinkering in my garage and not filming it. So, you know, I'm trying to help people where I can. I'm learning as I go. I'm not fully qualified, but this is an adventure, and everything I've done has been an adventure. There are links to other videos at the end of the video. As always, appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.